Arsenal fans, Arsenal fans, Arsenal fans. Look, we have to be optimistic. I know it's been an absolute atrocious season that we've just had, crashing out of the Champions League semi-finals, losing the title to Liverpool by double figures yet again. And it's atrocious not in the sense where we haven't played particularly well, in the sense where I think it's still really good that we came to the semi-finals of the Champions League. It's atrocious in the sense where I really thought this year was going to be the year. This year was going to be the year where we were going to win a major silverware, and I really thought it was going to be it was going to be the Premier League, especially at the start of the season when the way Man City dropped off, the way their performances were. I thought this was the season where we should have capitalized and gone ahead. And unfortunately, we know what happened. Liverpool expect the unexpected, because that's the beauty of football. That's the beauty of the Premier League. Anything can happen. When they were not even, when they were not even sort of predicted to go to the top four, they won the league. Kudos to them, but we have to move on. There is a lot of transfer activity happening. We've been linked with a lot of players, and this is obviously not the first time. Every transfer window, Arsenal is linked with every star player under the sun, and we end up signing nobody. And it's a very underwhelming signing. Especially when we need someone like a striker, we need a creative midfielder, we need a left winger, we need these players to take us to the next level. Because if you look at the overall Arsenal squad, if you just look at it, just take your Arsenal bias aside, take your Arsenal hatred aside, if you just look at the starting 11 and truly ask yourself, is this good enough to win you the Premier League? Is this good enough to win you the Champions League? The answer is no, it's not. Believe it or not, we're still 3-4 players. We're still 3-4 players away from winning something major, and comfortably winning something major. So what we're gonna talk about, as you guys can probably tell by the title, Viktor Gyökeres to Arsenal, striker. Finally, some good news. We've got Rodrygo wanting to leave Real Madrid as well, and then we've also got Real Madrid sniffing for William Saliba, waiting for him to run his contract down, like they do with a lot of players that they've done for the past couple of years, and snatch him up with major wages. But we need to prevent that from happening, and we need to do some serious business. Obviously, Edu's departed midway through the season. I think that was a bit awkward. I don't know what happened there, but we've got a new sporting director, Berta. And I'm very excited because he's gone straight into it. We've got a Zubimendi signing, which really solidifies our midfield. I think it's more of a Jorginho replacement, if you ask me. I haven't really made a video about it. I know there's a lot of videos out there that talks about this, but in my opinion, I think it's a tremendous signing. What he's done in the Euros, what he's done for Real Sociedad as well, mainly for the Euros in the final, especially when Rodrygo went down injured and Zubimendi was to come in and got substituted in case of him. And he came in, and we really thought this was this could have been the where England could have gone ahead and sort of capitalized on that, but they didn't. I think Zubimendi did a tremendous job, and ultimately was one of the leading factors that made Spain win the Euros alongside Lamine Yamal. So it is very exciting. I think it's an exciting, really, really exciting transfer. I think I don't think he's a Partey replacement. He is going to be a Partey replacement, but I'm saying not a Partey replacement in the sense where I don't want Partey to leave. I think Partey needs to extend for another year, because I think squad depth is incredibly important. Jorginho is already out the door, so I think it's more of a Jorginho signing. I think he's very similar to Jorginho, but he's obviously a lot younger. He's in his prime. He's a lot more athletic, a lot more mobile. So I think he brings a lot to the Arsenal squad, and I think it really allows Declan Rice to open up and sort of take on that left-hand side like Granit Xhaka did in his last season, and sort of really supported the left-hand side. So our left-hand side doesn't get as much love like the right-hand side does with Bukayo Saka, especially when 2 seasons ago or a season ago when Ben White was linking with Bukayo Saka and Granit Xhaka was linking with Martinelli. I think that's when we played the most free-flowing football, and I think Arteta's trying to go back to that, where Zubimendi sort of controls the midfield, dictates play, and you have Declan Rice and you've got Martin Odegaard or whoever comes in to sort of play those strings on the right-hand side and the left-hand side. So it is exciting times, but we need to talk about Viktor Gyökeres. And what's really funny? I see all of these Arsenal fans, sort of overcomplicating it, where he's not the right fit for Arteta. He doesn't play a certain type of way, and I think it's all bullshit. I think we should approach football that way. Sometimes you just got to look at it from a holistic point of view, from an overall point of view. You don't have to overanalyze everything. This channel is mainly about reactions. It's about raw emotions. Just pretty much talking to you guys as a fan, and obviously having a discussion in the comments as well, because we're all fans, bro. We don't want to look at tactical insights, leave that for the professionals. We want to see what we truly feel about it. And I think we tend to overanalyze a lot as Arsenal fans, because obviously we've been starving for a trophy for such a long time. But honestly, Gyökeres is an absolute killer up front. I think someone who just lives for goals. And look, Gabriel Jesus, Kai Havertz, they're great on the ball. They're brilliant in terms of link-up play, but they're not clinical enough. They're not 20-plus goal strikers. They're just not. We don't have a 20-plus league goal striker, and we need that, especially for tight games. What I absolutely love about him, he scores the most nastiest goals as well, whether that be a scrappy goal, a tap-in, a header. He's just there at the right place at the right time. And if we create enough chances like we did against PSG in the semifinals, for example, if we had someone like a Viktor Gyökeres at the end of those chances, I think we convert them. And I think we convert them and give PSG a real push. Whether we get across the line, 100%. I think we get across the line if we had a proper striker, if we take our chances, because that was the difference between PSG and Arsenal. The first 15 minutes in the Emirates, PSG were on us when Dembele scored that first goal. He's not an out-and-out striker, but he's just that X factor, that player that was just there at the right time, created chances, and took that goal brilliantly. We did the exact same thing at Parc des Princes, but we just didn't have that player to sort of, Declan Rice was at the end of those chances. Martinelli was at the end of those chances. These are not clinical people. If we have Viktor Gyökeres, I tell you what, the 3-4 chances that we created away from home in the second leg of against PSG, I think we would have scored 2 or 3 goals. You never know. So, and the thing is that especially for Saka as well. I think Saka needs that support. I think we're so predictable going up front. I think it's so predictable. And I think a lot of blame comes to Saka as well. Is he really doing enough? Not too much, but I think a lot of people do blame him sometimes when it comes to post-match reactions and, giving him ratings. We give him a lower rating, but people don't realize that our attack is so predictable on the right-hand side. It's so easy to double up on these two players. But I think Viktor Gyökeres, an absolutely brilliant signing. I know it's not confirmed yet, but there's a lot of reliable sources there that we've submitted our first bid of 60 million, triggered a release clause, and he's on 200k a week or something like that, which is fine, especially if you look at the fact that we pay someone like Kai Havertz 280k a week, so we can definitely afford to pay 200k a week for Gyökeres. I think he's absolutely brilliant up front. Looking at some of the stats, since he played at Coventry, he played in the Championship, which he's got that, English sort of experience, that sort of, strength, that physicality. He scored 95 goals in 100 games after leaving Coventry, which is an absolute insane stat, and we're close to signing him. He's got an $85 million release clause, and we've triggered it around 60 million, so 200k a week. It's not bad. Now, tactically, in my opinion, I think he's made for Arteta's system. I think he presses like an absolute madman. I think of him, prime Alexis, how he used to push defenders and I used to sort of press on them and sort of win the ball back. And I think he's going to do the exact same thing. He's also very aggressive in his movement, dragging centre-backs out of position, which might create outlets for Bukayo Saka or for Martinelli or for whoever's playing in the midfield, like Declan Rice finding himself in goal-scoring opportunities, which is very exciting. And the best of all is, like I said earlier, he scores ugly goals, tap-in, rebounds, scrappy headers, the kind of goals that we don't score enough. And when you look at it, with Gyökeres, you're not just getting goals. I think you're also getting the presence of a number 9, a target man up front, that he can bail you out of a couple of things. And defenders won't be able to relax. And imagine that with Odegaard feeding him, it could finally be the missing link. And I know Odegaard hasn't been the best of the past couple of weeks, months. He hasn't had a good performance, but I think he just needs a good target man up front for him to sort of, really do it. I like it that he's not glamorous. I like that he's not flashy, but he's an absolute monster, and we need a monster to get us across the line. So that's that for Viktor Gyökeres. And I think talking about Rodrygo, this is a little bit dreamy, but I think it's a little bit real as well. So I think reportedly, he's unsettled at Real Madrid. He refused to play in the Clásico. Obviously the reason being is because they've signed Kylian Mbappe. They have Endrick as a number 9. They have Arda Güler. They have Vini Jr. These players are not going to budge from the places. So he's looking over his shoulder, and I think he's finally ready for a move. He's 24. He's proven he's a Champions League winner. He's a proven winner. He comes in clutch. His output is not as good. I think he's had one season where he scored double figures. However, alongside having that target man up front, we need someone to create chances as well. And I think now Arsenal have apparently asked a question. There's nothing concrete yet, but listen, if Madrid are willing to negotiate, we have to be in the room. And Rodrygo, he's Champions League proven. Like I said, he's 24. He can play on both wings. And I know he's been playing on the right-hand side because they're not going to move Vinicius Jr., but I think his best position comes from the left-hand side. I think he's really good as a number 10, as a false 9, or as a left winger. And he's been playing not in any of those positions. He's playing as a right winger for Real Madrid. And I think tactically, he can give genuine rotation to Saka, or he can really solidify and make the left-hand side his own, which is not very hard to do because I don't think Martinelli is good enough. I wouldn't sell Martinelli. I would still keep him. However, we wouldn't need to run Bukayo into the ground, and that changes everything because Bukayo's injury led to him being overplayed constantly, getting over-tackled as well. So imagine front three options of Martinelli or Trossard or Rodrygo on the left. We have Gyökeres or Kai Havertz up front, and we have Saka or Rodrygo on the right with Gabriel Jesus moving on. So you're not just rotating, you're keeping the standards very, very sky high. There are players that give each other competition as well, because at the moment, a lot of players can be a lot more complacent. And you're competing in the Prem and the Champions League without fear, because you know as fans that like these players can get us out of a couple of tracks. So it would be expensive. I think it'll go above 100 million, so I think it's a little bit unrealistic. I know we're looking at Nico Williams as well, but there's nothing coming out of there at the moment. I would like Semenyo from Bournemouth as well, but I would love to have a Rodrygo and Gyökeres and maybe a creative number 10 as well. And I think it just fits the entire mold, and we go again next season with a do or die for Mikel Arteta. And also, I think the last thing as well, Real Madrid, they want Saliba. Look, I'm not shocked. I would want him to if I was rebuilding my defense, but we cannot let William Saliba go. Even the past couple of games, he's been a bit off, shaky, but I think he's provided a lot more satisfaction than he is, than mistakes, in my opinion. So he's the best centre back in the league right now, alongside Virgil van Dijk, of course, and I'd argue top 3 in Europe as well. He's calm, he's elegant, he reads everything. He is our defensive system. Lose him and we fall back into the same cycle. So we keep him when you build a title-winning defense around him, because I think we already have a title-winning defense. So the club needs to secure his future, new contract, lock it in, and he's also very captain material as well. So this summer isn't just about signings, it's about making a statement. Gyökeres turns us into a title challengers without a bite. Rodrygo gives us depth and danger in the final third. I think it might be a bigger signing than Gyökeres if that ever happens. Unlikely, but I'm still hopeful. And Saliba, he's a spine. You lose him, you lose your soul. So if we pull these moves off, we're not just knocking on the door, we're breaking it down. And let me know your thoughts. Would you go all in on Gyökeres? Is Rodrygo too risky? Or how would you link up this team next season? Drop a comment, smash the like button, and subscribe for more so I can give you more content. And let us go in the comments below. Up the Gunners. Let's make it ours next season, lads.